The sky above New Aegis Station bled crimson as its twin suns dipped below the asteroid horizon, casting long shadows across the observation deck. Commander Ilara Rhine stood still, her gaze locked on the distant shimmer of mining drones returning to their docking arms like metallic insects. The silence of deep space always unsettled her. It was too quiet, too empty, and too ready to break. Behind her, the soft chime of a proximity alert drew her back into motion. She turned, boots echoing against the deck's steel floor, and crossed into the control hub where a young officer hunched over a flickering console. "Lieutenant." Milo Trask looked up, dark circles under his eyes betraying another sleepless shift. He tapped a final command and turned the display to face her. "Something just pinged Sector 9. Low bandwidth, ancient encoding. I had to dig through 3 layers of noise just to isolate it." Ilara squinted at the waveform. It was erratic, fragmented. "From one of ours?" "Not anymore." Milo's voice dropped. "It's coming from Outpost Telmun. That place went dark 6 years ago." Her brow furrowed. "That outpost's beyond the expansion corridor. It was decommissioned, declared non-viable. And now it's screaming for help." Another voice joined them, clear, calm, and sharp-edged. Ray Lorne stepped out from the shadows of the analysis bay, her ever-present dataslate in hand. "It's not just a call. I ran it through harmonic filters. The signal's layered. It's bouncing off something, like it's being repeated back from deep space." Ilara turned to her. Reflected. Ray shook her head. "No." Replayed. As if something heard it and decided to answer. A weight settled in the room. The kind that came before disasters, or before orders that couldn't be taken back. "Show me the message," Ilara said. Milo keyed it in. The speakers crackled, then delivered a burst of garbled static before a voice, a human one, cut through. "This is interference. Station Telmun requesting immediate. A static. Survivors. Repeat. Contain. Not alone. Not." The message loop. It was broken, barely coherent, but undeniably real. Timestamp. 6 hours ago, Ray said. "It's live." Ilara exhaled slowly, her fingers curling into fists. "Protocol requires we respond." Milo flinched. "With all due respect, Commander, that signal shouldn't exist. Something's wrong. Outpost Telmun didn't have the power to transmit this far. And if they've survived out there for 6 years, why now?" Ray nodded slightly. "There's another issue. The relay path isn't natural. It's following a directional path, precise angles, repeating every 108 minute. That's not drift. That's guidance." Ilara said nothing. She stared at the signal, looping again, and felt the hair rise on her arms. It was too clean in all the wrong ways. She looked at Milo. "Are you suggesting it's bait?" "I'm suggesting someone, or something, is playing dead and using our voice to draw us in." For a moment no one moved. Outside the observation window, the stars glimmered, silent and blind. Then Ilara reached for the command console and opened a channel to Central Dispatch. "This is Rhine, New Aegis Command. Logging contact anomaly and initiating response Protocol 17. Tag and broadcast signal to all outer patrols. Requesting backup recon sweep of Sector 9. "Ma'am," Milo whispered, "if you answer, we could be inviting something we don't understand." "We've already answered," she replied. "The second it touched our systems, the net took it. Even if we cut the transmission now, the ripple's already out." He looked stricken. "Then it's too late." Ilara didn't disagree. Over the next few hours, the station's rhythm shifted. Patrol ships were deployed. Defensive grids came online. The crew moved with the quiet urgency of people who didn't want to ask the obvious question aloud. What if we're not the only ones listening? By midnight, another signal had been received. Not from Telmun, but from far beyond it. No voice. No language. Just a burst of raw data, heavy with impossible geometry and tones that made the station's instruments hum without being touched. Ilara stood in the comms bay, watching the feed, when Ray entered. Her expression was tight. That wasn't a reply, Ray said. It was a scan. Elara turned. They're searching for us. No. They found us. That was confirmation. The lights in the room flickered. Systems across the station began logging minor anomalies. Heat spikes, magnetic fluctuations, software lag. Then Milo's voice cracked through the intercom. Commander, you need to see this. I just lost contact with 2 patrol ships. They were near the old relay ring. They're gone. The edges of the moment closed in like jaws. Elara stared at the display, then turned slowly toward the window. On the distant edge of vision, a shadow passed across a cluster of stars. Vast, silent, unnatural. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, almost to herself, she murmured, "They heard it." And this time, no one argued. The vessel appeared without warning. No warp signature, no energy spike, no thermal bloom. One moment, the stars glinted undisturbed. The next, they were blotted out by an angular silhouette so vast it seemed to rewrite the horizon. From New Aegis command deck, Elara Rhine stood motionless, watching the slow, deliberate drift of the intruder across the void. "It's not one of ours," Ray said beside her, voice barely above a whisper. "No engine readouts, no identifiers. Just mass." Milo's voice crackled through the intercom, urgent and brittle. "Commander, you need to see this. I've got sensor readings that don't make sense. Whatever that thing is, it's not reflecting light in a way that matches any known material. Its surface is absorbing input like it's drinking the signal." Elara kept her eyes locked on the view. "Put it on the main screen." The display shimmered, resolving into a high-definition composite. The alien ship loomed in eerie silence. There were no windows, no external features that hinted at life or purpose, just brutal geometry, ridged like the bones of some forgotten predator. It was both ancient and impossibly advanced, the kind of presence that didn't announce itself because it didn't need to. Then it spoke. Not in words. Not through sound. A low harmonic pressure rolled through the station, setting teeth on edge and rattling fluid in bones. Lights dimmed. Power systems surged and dipped. Across the station, people clutched their heads as if something were trying to crawl into their thoughts. "It's communicating," Ray gasped, gripping a console to steady herself. Not audibly, neurologically. Broadcasting across a full spectrum of thought patterns. Elara forced herself upright. "Shield the bridge. Full dampening field. No one engages until we understand what we're dealing with." But the thing outside had already done its part. Within minutes, dozens of crew members reported visions, shattered images, blinding landscapes, and towering figures wrapped in living armor. One phrase kept surfacing in the fragments of their broken memories: "We thought you were ready." Ray stumbled into Elara's office an hour later, pale and shaking. "Commander, it's more than communication. It's testing us. Evaluating." "Evaluating what?" Elara asked. "Our threat. Our worth. Or maybe our failure." Milo was already there, surrounded by open data slates and unspooling feed. "I did some digging. The ship's design matches an old anomaly file, pre-Earth Exodus era. A derelict spotted near the Oort cloud, never recovered. The file was classified, but the analysts named it a Class 9 Deathworlder construct." Elara narrowed her eyes. "Deathworlder? It's a xenobiological term," Ray said. "A hypothetical species evolved on ultra-hostile planets where gravity crushes metal, temperatures boil flesh, and evolution doesn't forgive weakness. They're not just survivors. They're apex anomalies. And now they're here," Elara said, quiet. "Because of us." Milo nodded. "Because we called." The revelation hit like ice in her gut. The distress call, Telman's ghost, had not only reached them. It had pierced the veil of stars and roused something that should have remained legend. Hours passed. The alien ship didn't move, but its presence was felt in everything: the weight of air, the erratic pulse of New Aegis systems, the way people spoke in hushed tones as if afraid it might listen. Then, without ceremony, A smaller object detached from the main vessel and began its descent. It was shaped like a coffin and moved with impossible grace. The object entered the station's airlock without breaching a single protocol, as though it had learned every human rule on the way in. Elara, Ray, and Milo met it in the docking bay. The object hissed open. From within, a figure unfolded, nearly 3 meters tall, wrapped in segmented plating that looked grown rather than forged. Its form was humanoid only in the broadest sense, but its posture radiated awareness. It did not speak. Instead, it extended a hand, 5-jointed, clawed, and gleaming with something that resembled mercury. A symbol pulsed on its chest, shifting colors too fast for the eye to follow. Ray took an involuntary step back. That's not armor. That's exo-organic tissue. It's alive. The Deathworlder tilted its head, as if amused by the observation. Then it finally spoke. The voice came not from a mouth but from the station's internal comms, as though the ship itself had become its tongue. Your signal breached containment. The Warden slumbers no longer. Elara's blood ran cold. What containment? The tomb at Telmun. A prison built before your species learned the stone wheel. You reopened it. You invited what we sealed. Milo's face went pale. That signal wasn't a call for help. It was a warning. The Deathworlder nodded once. Ray's voice was tight. Then why answer it? Because if we did not, the voice replied, your extinction would be slow. Now, it may yet be fast. Elara straightened, the weight of her rank settling fully onto her shoulders. What are you here to do? To judge. To burn what must not live. To finish what you began. As it turned and walked back toward its pod, Elara called after it. And if we resist? It stopped. The station's lights dimmed again. Then you will meet us not as children, but as prey. The airlock sealed. Elara remained rooted in place, staring at the closed hatch. The quiet returned, but it was different now, deeper, expectant, like the silence before the hammer falls. And somewhere, in the empty reaches of space, something else began to stir. Ray Lorne didn't sleep. She sat in the auxiliary data vault with her back to the cold wall, knees drawn up, staring at the looping telemetry from Telman's sector. The numbers danced in erratic patterns, orbiting something they couldn't name. She'd parsed language fragments, decoded alien spectra, even modeled gravitational signatures. But this was wrong in a way mathematics couldn't fix. The Deathworlder envoy had vanished after its pronouncement. No one had seen it board its pod. No one had witnessed the departure. It had simply ceased to be, and in its absence, the station's unease thickened. The crew didn't speak openly about the alien. They avoided the docking bay. They clung to routine like it could protect them from the idea that they were no longer alone, or worse, that they were now judged. Elara Rhine called an emergency briefing the next morning. Her voice was raw, her stance composed but hollow-eyed. Officers filed in without a word, the room unusually still. We've received new data from the last recon probe dispatched to Telman's periphery, she began. What we assumed was a broken relay has been growing. Something massive is forming around the signal origin point. Ray rose from her seat. Growing how? The probe's last scan showed it extruding structure, mineral shells, lattice-like arms. It's constructing something out of the surrounding asteroid field. Milo chimed in from his corner, pulling up a stuttering visual feed. It's like a factory. It's not building ships. It's weaving containment. Or maybe a gateway. Elara folded her arms. The Deathworlder said the tomb was breached. Whatever we uncovered at Telmun wasn't just a warning. It was a lock. And now the key's been turned. Ray's mind jumped ahead. You think something's coming through? No, Elara said. I think something's coming out. That silence again. Everyone felt it now. The weight of inevitability. Elara's voice cut through it. We need to make contact with the construct again. If there's even a chance to negotiate, or understand what we're facing, we have to try. Milo shook his head. You want to hail a species that evolved on a death world and judges civilizations based on the weapons they wake? I want answers, Elara said. Or at least the truth before we're ash. 2 hours later, Ray stood beside the commander in the comms chamber. The signal array had been recalibrated using the frequency map left by the Deathworlder's neural broadcast. Ray had to override 3 ethical firewalls just to get the array to stabilize. We're ready, she said, eyes scanning the swirling feedback loop. Elara nodded. Initiate. The pulse fired. A whisper, not a shout, like slipping a question into the wind and hoping the dark was listening. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Ray began to lower her headset. Then the lights died. Not flickered, died. A pulse of electromagnetic force swept the station, frying half the subgrid. Backup systems kicked in, but not before a single line of alien text flashed across every screen. You have been seen. It was not an answer. It was an indictment. A moment later, an automated alert howled through the corridors. Ray and Elara raced to the observation deck as Milo's panicked voice barked over the comms. We have a breach, Deck 37. Something just materialized inside the bulkhead. No damage, no entry trace. It's just in. When they arrived, the scene was already collapsing into chaos. The walls had warped, bulging outward like something had forced its way through the station's bones. At the center stood a figure. Not the envoy, not even humanoid. This one crawled, slick and twitching, its limbs too many, its form oscillating like a broken transmission. Security opened fire. The rounds passed through it like mist. Ray grabbed Elara's arm. It's not really here. It's projected, partially phased. The creature lifted what could only be described as its head. A light burned where eyes might be, pulsing in rhythmic flashes. It's signaling, Ray whispered. Milo's voice returned over comms, desperate. Commander, we're losing systems. One of the reactors is spooling without input. Whatever this thing is, it's overriding our controls. The creature turned toward Elara, though it had no face. A shape formed above it, symbols in motion, cycling faster and faster. Then a sound. Not words. A scream in reverse, grinding backward through reality. Elara stepped forward, fists clenched. Are you the warden? The creature shivered violently. Its form split and reformed in waves, like it couldn't decide what to be. Then a voice, not mechanical, not alien, but chillingly human, echoed through the air. The warden is bound. I am what seeps from the crack. Ray's breath caught. It's not the Deathworlder. It's what was imprisoned. Milo cut in again. We have to vent that sector. If it finishes its integration. No, Elara said sharply. Not until we understand what it wants. The creature moved. Slowly, fluidly, it slid along the floor toward the central power conduit. I think it's not here to destroy, Ray murmured. It's trying to consume what we use to survive. Power, heat, systems, it feeds on function. Which means it doesn't need to kill us, Elara said grimly. Just turn us off. The lights flared one final time, and the creature vanished. In its place, a single glyph remained, etched into the scorched floor, a spiral enclosed in a cage. The same symbol that had flickered on the Deathworlder's chest. Ray crouched beside it, touching the edge. Elara spoke softly behind her. That wasn't a weapon. It was a scout. Ray looked up, her voice hollow. Then we've seen nothing yet. Above them, in the black quiet of space, the stars dimmed again, one by one, as if something were moving between them.